Hello and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a really fun Scrappy Inspiration YouTube and Instagram hop today. This one, it's a tag. It's like a tag hop or tag videos. It's the brainchild of the lovely Jennifer Jen Gagné, who is Kay's mom here on YouTube. And she had the idea that we hadn't done a tag video in a long time, and it would be fun if we interviewed each other. So basically, she assigned us someone to whom we would send 5 questions to. And the lovely, my dear friend Crystal, who is Pineapple Papers here on YouTube, got me, and she sent me 5 fun questions, and then I had to send 5 questions to Lisa, who is Pink Glitter Scrapper here on YouTube, Lisa Kingston. So in theory, I should have the channels of everybody playing along today listed below. For sure, I'm going to put Crystal and Lisa straight away, just to make sure that I don't forget. And then as everybody gets their links up, everybody should be down below. So before I get into Crystal's questions, I thought I would introduce myself if you're new to my channel, if you're coming here through the hop. I have been scrapbooking since the fall, I think, of about 2007. And if you are a regular, you know that I started scrapbooking as a result of a year-long backpacking trip that I took from June 2005 through to the end of May, early June 2006, where I went off and backpacked and hiked throughout Europe. I had worked for many years in the aircraft industry and had traveled heavily and extensively for business, but it's not the same. And I had not had much of a chance to travel personally, and some of these places I wanted to go back to, others I wanted to discover, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as I get into the questions. But that is what got me scrapbooking, and this, I think, is the very first layout that I did. I took a class at a local scrapbooking store only about a kilometer away from me, and I really just Googled scrapbooking stores in Sainte-Thérèse, which is a small town that I live in, found it, and took a class. And I think that was probably in the fall of 2007. That's where I met my in real life friend, Anne-Marie, Anne-Marie Marcoux, who you heard me talk about. And then Diane, coucou. C'est la première page que j'ai fait à la petite boutique, mon ami. Oui, je pense que c'est la première page, en tout cas. So I'm pretty sure this was the first page, and I got Chopin for my birthday in 2007 when I turned 50. He was a little rescue kitty, and look at that little face. And this is on my birthday, and he had been here for probably only a couple of weeks. I was born, my birthday is the 8th of October, my 50th birthday, and he was born on the 31st of July. His mom was the rescue in some of our extended family, and therefore we all got a few little kittens. I am simply my name here on YouTube. Over on Instagram, I am Mo O'Reilly, M-O-O-R-E-I-L-L-Y, and those are probably the 2 places that you'll find me the most, in addition to, of course, Facebook, where I'm quite active in a few groups. So that's the very first page, and this one, I don't know when I did. This one is probably fairly old as well, and I think this might be the second page that I ever did, and that's the same event. You can see it's the same event, this little guy peeking out, and this was definitely done during a class. So these two were done during a class, which is what got me scrapbooking more. I had done photo albums with journaling and stuff like that, and I've talked to you a bit about that before, actually, for many, many years. But scrapbooking as we now know it and do it was in the fall of 2007. And there, now this, you can tell this is a very, very, very old page as well. And I'll come back to a few of these with one of the questions from Crystal. So I am going to, now this video is going to be a little bit, because I'm going to take you along to a couple of areas in my scrap room for a couple of the questions. So I'm going to be putting these little videos one behind the other. I hope I do that correctly. I'm going to try. So I'm going to see you in one moment with the first question from my lovely friend Crystal. See you in a sec. So for the first question, do I display my layouts and how do I choose which ones? I have, let me go back, let me see here. I have two shadow boxes on a wall, which is sort of next to where I store a lot of my Scrappy supplies. So it's in my scrap room. I hope I'm not making you dizzy. Let me go back to that. Now, my original idea for this was to pretty much choose every month a couple of favorite layouts. You can see this one here is travel, and this one here is little Sophie, Chopin's girlfriend. So my original idea was once a month to choose a favorite in sort of each of those categories, although the pet one was going to be sometimes the little Pookies and other times just some everyday stuff. But in reality, I haven't switched these out in a long, long time. And I'm going to switch in a minute to just a photo before I continue on with a frame that I have for 8.5 by 11 layouts. Back in a sec. So question 2 from Crystal is a lovely one. She said, you've had so many amazing adventures. What is your favorite place or adventure that you've been on or been to? And I find, in a way, I find that a hard question to answer because there were so many, and I just love traveling. But what I particularly love about traveling is getting away from the tourist spots, getting to know the culture. So probably a couple of the things throughout that I really enjoyed, or that I really loved, and that it surprised me a little bit that I loved. Because of course, you know, who doesn't love London, Madrid, Paris, going to all of those lovely places. But I got on this trip, on the backpacking trip, I had decided that I really wanted to try and see pretty much every country in Europe. I almost succeeded. I didn't quite, but I almost succeeded. And some of them were very, very different. A little bit of a culture shock. Certainly got me out of my comfort zone and having to discover different things. And one of those was Brașov in Romania. And another adventure that I really loved was sometimes, depending on the time of the year, and I would get to a train station or a bus station or wherever, and I wanted to go somewhere, and I couldn't because there were no tickets and whatever. And I think you've heard me tell this story before in Rome, where I went to the ticket agent and I said, okay, I had my backpack and I had to go somewhere. I checked out of the hotel, and today was the day that I had to go somewhere. So I said to the ticket guy, okay, well, where can I go? And he said, Bern, Switzerland. And that was a fun discovery. So some of these sort of types of things, and Brasov was actually one of those. It was not originally on my schedule, but talking to some other travelers and talking about Dracula's castle and that kind of thing, I decided I needed to go. So here are a couple of the layouts of Brasov. And you can see here, Brasov 2006, hiking buddies, because the actual town of Brasov, it's a city. It's fairly big, but if you can see on this page, this is a long and winding road up to my pensione, and right down here is actually the city. So like right out into the sort of country within about 2 or 3 kilometers, and these lovely little goats, which were just everywhere walking along with us. That kind of thing I love. I love about traveling and just finding things that are so very different from home or from where I come from. So you see here, this is the city, so view from the top. So you can see it's not a small, city. So I definitely enjoyed that. Dracula's castle, reading about Dracula and the legend around their Bran castle. Now you see here, here is a layout that I did very, very early on. You can see I did some embossing here, and this is definitely a die cut of some sort, probably a die. These little tags where I just hand wrote letters. Now this is so very, very, very different from my style today, and Crystal was asking me about, layouts that you're doing and you just don't really like them so much. What do you do? Do you start over or keep on going? And I will come back to that question. And a second part of that question, her last question, was if you finish the layout and you still don't like it, would you restart it? Now, this is a bit of a variation on that theme because I like it. It's certainly not something that I would do today, but it's in the album. It reflects the style that I had. This is one of the very first punches that I bought, these fun little sort of corner punches where you could insert your photos. Isn't that fun? You see, now I'm finding things here. I should get these out and I should use these. This is fun. This is in Bran Castle as well. Very sort of dreary. So this kind of thing is certainly, very, very, very simple, darkish colors. Not something that I would do today, but I would not re-scrap this or start this over. In fact, I don't think that's something I have ever done. I certainly do find some layouts, and I'll show you some that it's like, oh well. But more often than not, it's just in the book. This one I love. Now you see this here. Jen said, why don't you also share some of your favorite layouts? This would definitely be one. I love this. And this, if I'm not mistaken, I know this trim came in a lovely, lovely kit that I got from Sarah Scraps when I took her Simple Elegance class. And this I did during a Secret Not Secret Kit Club party for sure. And I do love a diagonal design. Or did I do this? Actually, I think this might have been a layout palooza. Christina, if you're watching this, was it? Or anybody else? Is it, Anne-Marie, is this a layout palooza? I think this might be a layout palooza class that we did. Another older layout, but with a little bit of mixed media. Oh, I'll have to go in and fix that. I did some stitching. This may have been one of the first times that I did some stitching. Some lovely Vicky Bouton paper here. Now, I can't remember whether this was for a challenge in the Secret Not Secret Kit Club party or whether this might be from a Stash Bash Palooza. Not so sure, but this is another one that I quite love. And now you see here is an example of a layout that's finished. This I did for an off the board, which is one of the series that I do with Crystal, and this was an off the board, and this was from a pin, and this is definitely one of those layouts where, really? Where I'm really, really, really not so sure, but I'm not going to start it over again. I think my philosophy is, when it's done, it's done, it's in the book, it gets a memory, and I don't think anything is bad enough that I would really, really, really want to redo it. I don't know. I may eat those words. You never, never know. So that is sort of a little bit about the adventures, but I'm going to continue. I'll be back in 1 second. So on to question number 3. I hope the lighting is okay, because I have the window open next to me here, and it's quite sunny and bright. Question number 3 from my dear friend Crystal was your dirty little secret. Stuff that you have and that you don't use enough or have never used. And look at all these stamps. Yeah, I should look at all these. I mean, I do use my stamps, but never as much as I should, for sure. And the same thing with embossing folders, dies, and more stamps. So that's certainly one of my little dirty secrets. And so and look, there's even a few tucked in here, some of these lovely, and some of these I really have not ever used, which is terrible. And then the other thing, let me just bring you here, and there you go. Look at that, dust and all. Let me see if I can hide the glare a little bit there. Are punch boards. I needed those punch boards so badly when they came out. Used them probably once just to test them out. I have an envelope one, and I have a gift bag one, and then promptly put them down in that little shelf over there to collect dust. So there you go. Now another lovely discovery for me, or different discovery for me, was Poland. And that was quite a culture shock as well. Now this is something that I did very, very, very early on as well. And I went to 3 places in Poland, Warsaw, Krakow, and Zakopane, which is really sort of more of a little bit of a holiday area. It reminds me of, for any of my local friends, it reminds me a little bit of Tremblant, or one of the ski resorts that you would have in BC or here in Quebec or even in Alberta. And also something maybe a little bit more difficult, but I'm really, really happy that I did. So I wouldn't call it, I guess, a favorite, Crystal, but certainly something that I am so happy that I did. From Krakow, I went to Auschwitz, and that's maybe one of the most difficult things I have ever done. But it's really, really, really something that I was so thrilled of doing. Now, I have to say, in the adventures, I loved Poland. I was surprised that I would, but I did not really like Warsaw. Warsaw was, and I guess it's not really its fault, because it was grazed to the ground pretty much during World War II, and therefore was rebuilt. And the old part of town was rebuilt quite authentically, I guess I should say. But then there is a part of Warsaw which is very sort of tries to be modern, which reminds me of, and most of you won't know what this means, but if any of you are local, and Marie, Diane, Francine, Vous allez savoir ce que je veux dire. You're gonna get this. It reminds me of Laval. You know, like one of those disjointed towns that have been put together with no real soul. And I'm sorry if any of you live in Laval. I'm very sorry. It's just not a city that I like. And Warsaw was not my favorite place. I'm happy I went. I'm happy I got to go see the Chopin Museum in Warsaw. This is a very, very, very early page. Now you see this is a page that for sure is very, very different from my style today. It's something that I would not do today, but it's in the book. Oh, this needs a little bit of repair. Now on to, oh, and here, now you see these are some of the fun things that I love. Like one of the biggest grocery stores here, and my local grocery store is an IGA with exactly that logo. And fancy meeting you here, an IGA in the middle of Warsaw. Those are the fun little things from traveling. One of the really, really cool things that I love, you know, you go somewhere and you go, oh my, like it just feels so out of place and so at home by the same token. So Krakow, fun little pages. Now another thing that I was Schindler's, and Schindler's Fabrikas, or the manufacturing plant, was still there exactly the way it was, completely abandoned. And this was only about 300 meters from the pensione that I was staying at in Krakow. I believe today, you see, because this was in 2006, I believe today this has been turned into a museum, but it was just the abandoned manufacturing plant at that time. And my pensione was within what was known as the ghetto during World War II as well. So there I am in front of it. You see now here's a perfect example of a page that I really don't really like. So I guess if truth be told, you know, now that I'm actually looking at this one, Chris, this one I might actually redo, because I really don't like it. And I do love purple. I don't think it goes with the mood and the feel of this photo. And I think that's something that maybe over the years and more recently I have become a little bit more in tune with, which is the mood and the feel of photos that help me choose some of my supplies. So here you go. So I might just redo this one. So having said that I never redo, I think this one might be one that I redo. I love, this is one of my favorite, and this I know I did during a Secret Not Secret Kit Club party. Now this is the beginning of one of the most difficult things I've ever done, which is Auschwitz, and visiting Auschwitz and spending, I guess, a good 3 or 4 hours there. That was very difficult, but I'm so glad I did it. And it's certainly not something that I think, anyway, many people have been able to do. And I'm very, very grateful that I was able to take that year. And I mean, there are a lot of sacrifices a couple of years before going, to save the money to go, letting go of a lot of things also to go. I let go of my apartment. I put most of my things in storage. I sold, gave away many things as well, so that when I came back in 2006, it was a little bit like starting over again. And the adaptation back to life here was a little bit of a struggle, but I would do it again in a heartbeat. Who knows? Maybe when I'm 75 or so, do you think? Who knows? Anyway, that's a whole different story. So there you go. So some of the fun, and I think maybe one of the other favorite adventures, now this is Poland's playground here, Zakopane, which is beautiful, but one of the other adventures and one of the favorites, and something that is so different and that I certainly can't live around here, was going to Norway and going to the Lofoten Islands and being above the Arctic Circle. That was something, and experiencing 24-hour daylight and being so very, very, very far away from anywhere and anything. The Lofoten Islands was just an amazing experience. And I'll come back and I'm going to do an album share with Norway for you very, very soon, because I couldn't find it quickly at hand for this video. So I'm going to come back within the next couple of weeks and talk to you about that, because that merits a video on its own. So there you go. I am going to just pop in here another quick little video, because Crystal's other question to me is, what is your scrappy, dirty little secret? What have you maybe bought that you have not used? So you're going to see that. So there you go, my friends. So that's me. Oh, this is here now. You see, this was in Vilnius, which is also something that was quite fun, that I was able to get up into Lithuania, Estonia, and those areas as well. But there you go. So that is me. I hope all of these videos flowed and flow correctly, and that it's not all disjointed. But this was really, really, really fun. So thank you, Crystal, for the fun questions. I really enjoyed them all. And please make sure you pop along and follow along and get to know so many of my lovely Scrappy friends. Get to know them a little bit better. I'm sure you're following most of them already. If not, please do so. And this was so much fun. Thanks, Jen, for coming up with this wonderful idea. Thanks, Crystal, for the awesome, awesome questions. I'm so sorry, Elisa, that I was late in sending you mine. I think I only sent them to you about a week ago. Sorry about that. And I will see you all again here very, very soon. Thanks for being here. Bye for now, my friends.